let's get started with our first news. Ilia recently spoke out about JDM's performance against Islam Makhachev, and he did not hold back. Following UFC Qatar, Ilia sat down with Alvaro Comenro, where he broke down exactly why he felt JDM did not show up the way a former champion should. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Ilia explained that he expected far more resistance from JDM. In his eyes, JDM looked completely unprepared and, even worse, completely unwilling to be in the fight. He said JDM put up zero resistance and looked like someone who had mentally checked out the moment the cage door closed. According to Ilia, that was the most disappointing part of the entire matchup. He then turned his attention to Islam, who is now the welterweight champion. Ilia admitted that Islam did what he always does, which is fight in a way Ilia called super boring. He clarified that Islam doesn't seem to care about the audience, doesn't take risks, and sticks to a safe, grinding style that shuts opponents down. Ilia said Islam simply did his job, but he was not impressed by it at all. However, Ilia made it very clear that he wants that fight. He believes a matchup between him and Islam would look completely different from what fans saw with JDM. Ilia said Islam would be desperate, constantly trying to get a dominant position and catch his breath, while Ilia would bring speed, power, and real fire into the cage. He emphasized that he would show a version of himself that forces Islam into deep water, breaking his rhythm and shutting down his control-heavy approach. Ilia confidently stated that if the fight happens, fans would see Islam struggle in ways he never has before. He insisted that he would not only defend every attempt to slow the fight down, but push the pace until Islam is forced into mistakes. And according to Ilia, those mistakes would lead to one outcome. He said he has the precision, the hunger, and the finishing instinct to put Islam to sleep. And that's exactly what he intends to do if the matchup becomes reality. Move on to another news. Arman has officially sent one of his strongest warnings yet to Ilia, and he made sure the message was loud and clear. After Ilia's recent comments stirred the division and sparked plenty of debate, Arman decided it was time to respond in a way that leaves no doubt about what he intends to do if the two finally meet inside the octagon. Arman spoke with a level of confidence that felt unshakable. He made it clear that he's tired of the back-and-forth talk, tired of the narratives, and ready to settle everything with action. He believes Ilia has been running his mouth a little too much, acting like he's untouchable, and Arman didn't hesitate to remind everyone that he's one of the most dangerous lightweights in the division. He said that once he's in the cage with Ilia, all the talking stops and only real violence remains. Then, during an interview recorded while he was flying on his private jet, Arman delivered the line that immediately went viral. He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't hesitate, and didn't hold anything back. He said he wants to smash Ilia with elbows, cut his entire face open, and finish him by TKO. His exact words were, "I'd like to smash him with elbows, cut up his whole face, and finish by TKO." Arman said this calmly, almost casually, as if he was stating something he had already visualized 1,000 times. He explained that his style is built for breaking opponents. He said that if Ilia thinks he can push the pace, he's wrong. If Ilia believes he can dominate the grappling exchanges, he's wrong. And if Ilia believes he can stand and strike freely without consequences, he's very wrong. Arman promised to bring non-stop pressure, sharp elbows, heavy top control, and a relentless drive to make Ilia crumble under the pressure. Arman added that the difference between him and Ilia is simple. Ilia talks with emotion, but Arman fights with purpose. Arman said his goal isn't just to win. His goal is to make a statement so clear that nobody can deny who the true threat in the division is. He believes Ilia has never faced someone with this level of strength, pace, and grit, and he intends to expose every weakness he sees. For Arman, this isn't personal. It's inevitable. If that fight is booked, he expects to dominate every second until the referee has no choice but to step in and save Ilia from the damage. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier has weighed in on the future of the lightweight division, and he made a bold statement that instantly grabbed the attention of fans everywhere. According to DC, Arman is the scariest matchup for Ilia right now, and he believes there's no argument left when it comes to identifying the two best lightweights in the world. With Islam now holding the welterweight title, DC says the conversation at lightweight is centered around one clash: Arman versus Ilia. DC explained that Arman is the kind of fighter who poses real danger at every level. He said Arman is big, strong, and incredibly well-rounded, with the ability to wrestle at a high level, strike with precision, and mix every part of MMA together seamlessly. DC emphasized that Arman is not just good in these areas, he's elite. And when he gets on top of an opponent, that's when the real problems begin. His top control is something DC called a major issue for anyone who steps into the cage with him. Cormier went on to say that for Ilia fans, this is the matchup that should worry them the most. He explained that Arman has the rare ability to replicate the kind of pressure, dominance, and positional control that Islam is known for. Maybe not to the same extent, but close enough to make it a nightmare for Ilia. DC pointed out that Ilia has never faced someone who can shut down movement, suffocate space, and apply constant wrestling threats the way Arman can. He said the mix of size, strength, and technique Arman brings is what makes him such a dangerous challenger. If Arman gets momentum early, he can drag the fight into deep, grinding territory, where Ilia's explosive style becomes harder to execute. DC described Arman as the perfect blend of power and discipline, someone who doesn't need to take unnecessary risks because he can control fights from the very first exchange. Cormier made it very clear that this is not hype or exaggeration. In his view, the lightweight division has two names at the very top, and everything is building toward their eventual clash. He said the skill sets, the momentum, and the competitive drive of both fighters make this one of the biggest potential matchups in the UFC right now. For DC, the equation is simple. Arman is the biggest threat to Ilia, the most complete opponent he could face, and the matchup that could define the future of the division. Move on to another news. Ilia has once again shaken up the conversation around his future, this time by revealing who he wants next if the Islam Makhachev fight doesn't happen. In a recent interview, Ilia was asked directly about his plans and what matchup he's targeting. His answer surprised a lot of fans, because instead of calling out another top contender, Ilia said he wants Paddy Pimblett. He explained that Paddy has been on his mind and that he'd like to fight him next if the UFC can't make the welterweight clash with Islam. Ilia made it clear that his first preference is to move up to welterweight and fight Islam, especially now that Islam is the champion in that division. But if the UFC doesn't allow that move yet, he has another idea that he believes would be massive for the sport. He suggested the UFC could create a brand new belt, a pound-for-pound title, and have the fight take place at a 160-pound catchweight. Ilia said he would have absolutely no problem stepping into that weight to make history. He explained that fighting Islam in a third weight category would be something special, something that would add a new layer to his legacy. Ilia said he's willing to wait until the summer when the UFC might consider moving him up to welterweight officially. And at that point, he plans to compete for what he calls his third belt. He believes the UFC will eventually open the door for him to fight in multiple divisions, and when that happens, he intends to collect titles at every stop. Ilia also doubled down on the idea of the pound-for-pound championship, saying it should be introduced as a new way to test elite fighters beyond traditional weight class boundaries. He said he would gladly fight for that belt and put everything on the line to prove he's the #1 fighter on the planet. In his mind, this belt would carry extra significance because it represents dominance across all divisions. He ended the interview by saying there are plenty of options in front of him, and he's confident the UFC will choose whatever brings the biggest impact. Whether it's Paddy, Islam at welterweight, or a brand new division at 160 pounds, Ilia believes the future is full of opportunity, and he's ready for whatever comes next. Move on to another news. Jon Jones has made headlines after agreeing to a grappling match with Khamzat, and the footage that surfaced has the MMA world buzzing. Recently, clips appeared online showing Khamzat and Jones grappling in Russia, giving fans a rare look at how two of the sport's most elite athletes match up off the MMA stage. Jon Jones is currently in Russia, and he revealed on X that his visit is for multiple reasons, including attending Ramzan Kadyrov's son's birthday party and signing a major ambassador deal while in the country. The footage, captured by Instagram user Rizvan82, also showed Jones signing papers believed to be for an apartment in Grozny, the capital of Chechnya. It's unclear whether the apartment was purchased by Jones or gifted to him, but the moment added to the intrigue surrounding his trip. Since Jones is in Russia, it appears he linked up with Khamzat, and the grappling session immediately impressed the MMA community. In the footage, Khamzat secures a takedown on Jones, showcasing his skill, strength, and athleticism in a way that left fans talking. After the footage went viral, Jon Jones reacted on X, praising Khamzat's performance. He wrote, "Khamzat is a real for sure. That takedown was legit. Young man is in tremendous shape, and there was only so much I could do on that concrete. What a great host. I'll never forget my time in Chechnya." Jones continued to reflect on their time together, mentioning a dinner they shared where he described Khamzat as humble, focused, and driven. He also revealed that after the dinner, Khamzat needed to drive 4 hours back to the mountains to continue his training, highlighting his dedication. The story took an interesting turn when social media user Rizvan82 shared that Jones wanted a rematch with Khamzat because he wasn't satisfied with his own performance. According to the post, both athletes tested each other's grappling skills, with Jones refusing to accept defeat and expressing a desire for another challenge. Alfredo then entered the conversation, offering a match, and Jones immediately agreed. This means fans could soon witness an alternative reality showdown where Jon Jones and Khamzat Chimaev face off in a dedicated grappling match. If it happens, it would be a massive moment for combat sports, allowing fans to see two elite athletes go head-to-head in pure technique and skill. With the recent footage giving a glimpse of what's possible, excitement is growing worldwide for this matchup between Jones and Khamzat. Move on to another news. Rumors were swirling around the UFC Paramount card, suggesting a fight between Alex Pereira and Carlos Ulberg for UFC 324, and the MMA world went into a frenzy. Timothy Wetton, who works for Low Kick MMA, shared on social media that he was hearing rumors of the matchup at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on January 24th. He made it clear in his first line that it was not confirmed and that he was simply passing along what he had heard. Still, the speculation alone was enough to ignite excitement and debate across the MMA community. The rumors spread so widely that Ariel Helwani had to address them on his own show to set the record straight. Ariel made it clear that, after checking in with reliable sources, the reports of Alex Pereira fighting Carlos Ulberg were false. He emphasized that the UFC's current hope is still a fight between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones, and there has been no discussion of a bout against Carlos Ulberg at this time. Ariel wanted fans to understand that while speculation is common in MMA, it doesn't always align with reality, and this was one of those cases. He also provided additional context about the UFC Paramount Plus card. Ariel noted that while there have been discussions about Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes for a title fight, other potential matchups like Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett are not being considered at the moment. He explained that the situation could always change, as the UFC has been known to call fighters on short notice. But as of his latest checks on Saturday night and the following day, there was no confirmation of the rumored fights. Ariel made it clear that MMA fans should take these rumors with caution. While speculation can create buzz and excitement, the reality of fight bookings depends on negotiations, scheduling, and the UFC's strategic decisions. He reassured viewers that reliable updates would follow, and fans should focus on confirmed matchups rather than trending rumors. In conclusion, the talk of Alex Pereira versus Carlos Ulberg at UFC 324 is simply that, a rumor. Ariel Helwani shut it down, confirming that the fight is not happening, and the main focus remains on a potential showdown between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones. While speculation will continue in the MMA world, the official matchups will only be revealed through UFC announcements, and fans are advised to stay tuned for confirmed news rather than circulating unverified reports. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria has laid out a bold plan for how he and Islam Makhachev could compete in a super fight without the need for a welterweight move. The idea comes as both fighters now hold multiple UFC titles, with Islam claiming gold at welterweight and lightweight, while Ilia has dominated featherweight and recently captured the lightweight belt. Despite their accomplishments, moving up to 170 pounds would be a massive step for Ilia, who has never competed at welterweight. Instead, Ilia has proposed a creative solution: a catchweight bout between the two, where both leave their belts at home. The winner would be crowned the undisputed pound-for-pound #1, even though it wouldn't be for an official title. This approach would allow both champions to compete without the constraints of their respective divisions, creating a dream matchup for fans and a career-defining challenge for both athletes. Ilia explained that his initial move to lightweight was motivated by the pursuit of a clash with Islam, alongside escaping the brutal featherweight cut. However, Islam's pursuit of a second belt and departure from the division opened the door for Ilia to fight for the lightweight title. Now, he envisions a unique fight above lightweight but below welterweight, introducing the concept of a new belt representing the pound-for-pound #1 in MMA. In an interview with Cole Monero, Ilia discussed his plans while addressing his January return to the octagon. He said, "I have nothing on the horizon," but emphasized that opportunities depend on both fighters' interests. He explained that if both parties are aligned, anything is possible, and this catchweight concept could finally deliver the superfight fans have been waiting for. While Ilia expects his next opponent to be Paddy Pimblett, he made it clear that his dream fight is against Islam Makhachev in a third weight division. He suggested that a fight could happen later in the summer if the UFC allows him to move up a weight class, potentially for a third belt. He also pitched the idea of creating a new pound-for-pound belt at a catchweight, providing a definitive way to determine the #1 fighter in the world. Ilia concluded by saying there are many options, and he is keeping an open mind as to how the UFC will structure this historic matchup. His vision emphasizes creativity, fan excitement, and the opportunity to make history while keeping his focus firmly on a showdown with Islam that could redefine the pound-for-pound rankings in MMA.